Evening all.
Buongiorno.
Did you not just notice? I think there's a hair on that's hanging from the microphone to front of the camera lens. That's
The length of it would suggest that it's yours. So this long, a little bit longer.
funny. You're a funny man. We went to see Loving Vincent.
We did.
We did. We went to see this one in a cinema called the Haymaker Cinema in near Piccadilly Circus. It's a very nice cinema, actually.
Yeah.
Very nice cinema. It's another one. One thing I've noticed about the cinemas that we've gone to at this festival is they're all like theatres, like actual theatres. They're cinemas with character, and there's not enough of those anymore.
Yeah, all of the ones that are being used for the actual film festival. Yeah, they've all got character, like quite often like ornate carvings and things. A lot of history to them. You can.
Or the sort of, even just the walls are an interesting colour, or there's sort of like an interesting fabric in the seat. It's just something that you personal touch that you just don't get with the cinemas now. You know, you pass me a biscuit, man.
Okay.
Need sugar. But this is part of the Create line of films, which are, and I'm quoting now, films that channel the electricity of the creative process, celebrating artistic form and expression. And I believe, it's the second film we've seen under this banner of films, because it's we saw Bandits and Pirates is also under this banner, and with this one, this is it's filmed directed by Dakota Colbana and Hugh Welchman, who we attended a little Q&A session with him after the film. He was there today, it's actually quite. It's a very interesting film in all things considered. It's one of those films that's. We went to see it purely because it was the very first oil-painted animated film.
So the film, obviously, as you can infer from the title, details the events surrounding the death of Vincent Van Gogh.
And it's the poster as well. The poster as well has on the thumbnail has Van Gogh's picture on it.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah. So it basically follows the events surrounding his death, told through sort of comments on his legacy, told through the eyes of someone whose father knew Vincent Van Gogh very distantly through letters that he wrote to other people. And the entire film is basically, every single scene, every frame it's basically done as if it was a stop motion animation. The director compared it to Wallace and Gromit, what they do with manipulating the figures, except they had a team of over 100 artists that painted out individual shots, and there was, I think he quoted 65,000 or plus individual paintings that were done by the artist team, and around nearly 850 individual shots. So 65,000 frames, 800 odd shots of individual paintings done by this massively creative team.
Creative is the right word. It's
and equated to a movie.
Yeah, no, I'm amazed by the feat that they've pulled off with this film. But so we can say on technical levels, it's a good film. There's no doubt about that.
No.
But of course, technicality isn't just everything in film. So overall, Ren, what do you think?
I loved it. I loved everything about it. There's I've got one nitpicky thing, but you know, without that issue, I don't think the film would work really. But
it's kind of it's another Your Name for you, where you were struggling to find anything to say against it.
No, because I mean, you know, it's so moving. I mean, I found myself crying for the last 5 minutes, but that's not really saying much because I cry at most films.
God help you if you ever watched Clannad.
Yeah. But I honestly thought it was phenomenal. The acting was all done through so it was done as live. It was filmed first as live action actors. So there was naming a few: Douglas Booth, Chris O'Dowd, the guy from Game of Thrones who played I can't remember his name. I can never pronounce her name either. Cerise Ronan. Cersei Ronan. Saoirse Ronan.
Saoirse Ronan.
Saoirse Ronan.
Wait, Saoirse Ronan's in Game of Thrones?
No, she's not in Game of Thrones. The guy who plays the Doctor.
Oh yes.
In Loving Vincent is in Game of Thrones.
He's in Game of Thrones. Saoirse Ronan is in the film though.
Yeah. Basically, it's filmed first as live action, and then and then they basically gave the live action film done in front of a green screen to all of the artists, and they basically painted frame by frame.
That's what I really, really enjoyed about the film. It had that interesting idea there, and I mean, it certainly took 6 years to make this film. 6 years.
And all of the characters represented, all of the ones that have that are kind of integral to the story, are all characters that Vincent Van Gogh has drawn in the past. And it shows you at the end, basically, it shows you a catalogue of all the different characters and their originating pieces, and how they relate to Vincent Van Gogh, and the narrative sort of brings them all together and gives them character, and they're basically brought to life again through the actors that portray them, and it's bloody good. It's
I thought this was, I'm not going to disagree with you, I thought this was a damn amazing film. I think the animation is top notch. I think it has a really great cast. The writing is superb.
Yeah, absolutely.
It took a very interesting way of looking at Vincent Van Gogh's life, and it did it in a way that was very contemporary, worked well, and it almost do you know what I think it is? It sort of separated itself off from the figure in order to explore the figure. It sort of half separates itself from.
Because you know, so it's all done in a sort of. It's done from a bystander's point of view.
We were pointing out it's kind of weird because everyone has a. I remember him when.
It's basically so it's done through the eyes of Douglas Booth's character. I can't remember the name of. But he basically wants to deliver a letter to Vincent Van Gogh's brother, around a year after.
I think it was like a year and a half after he's died, but it then turns out when he gets there. His brother's dead.
Yeah, his brother died.
So he's got no one to deliver it to, and he's trying to figure out someone desperately who should take this letter.
Yeah, and over the course of him trying to find this person, he finds out more about the events of Vincent Van Gogh's death.
You also get a bit about his early life.
And so in that, he hears the perspectives of people who he's come into contact with in the past. So painters and other artists that he'd been in contact with in Paris. Vincent Van Gogh's doctor, who we saw after he was released.
And they keep calling him, do you know what's great? They keep calling him the Doctor, which means I imagine this is taking place at the same events, the same universe as Doctor Who. And all the events of that episode of Doctor Who, where Vincent Van Gogh appears in it has happened in this universe.
Yeah.
But actually, I think this would make a very good double feature with that episode.
Yeah, potentially, yeah. I mean,
they both explore Van Gogh's life in very different ways, although... No, considering that episode, I believe was written by Richard Curtis. It's once again like all of his endings way too happy.
Well, Well, no, I mean, I thought the ending of that Doctor Who episode was really nice. You know, it was very emotional.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's Richard Curtis though. He makes them way too perfect, and that's his problem with Richard Curtis. His endings are way too perfect.
I haven't seen the Doctor Who episodes.
It's not. Well, he's only done one Doctor Who episode. He's the guy who wrote Love Actually, 4 Weddings and a Funeral.
Oh, come on! You can't say that they're bad though.
No, I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying the endings are a little too perfect. Like it goes a little too much all in place. There's no real. He doesn't really write a lot of heartache. He doesn't really write a lot of. It all going horribly wrong, or people having to live with problems.
I'd say there's heartache. Well, I mean, there's definitely cases of that in Love Actually that I can think of.
Yeah, but it does seem like it's all kind of wrapped up a bit neatly at the end.
I think that's what's beautiful about it, though. I mean, maybe about his writing.
Well,
it's fair that you don't like that.
I'm not a big fan of Love Actually. I mean, there's only a couple of stories in Love Actually I really, really enjoyed, and one of them was Bill Nye's subplot.
Yeah.
About the rock star.
Anyway, back onto Loving Vincent.
But the thing about Loving Vincent for me though is I think it's actually better for being animated than it was live action because you get more into Van Gogh's world.
And as we sort of heard briefly from the director at the end, the way that they basically selected all of the artists to take place in the production is they had an auditioning process of over 5,000 applicants from across the world who applied to be part of the team. They narrowed it down to around 500 who over a 3-day period produced a still image of from the film, and then submitted it, and then they narrowed that down to 125 people, and then they gave them a 100-hour training session, which was replicating Van Gogh's natural style, as well as working in animation, so that you can sort of learn how to animate frame by frame.
It's amazing how much they achieved with that.
And what they did, and this is again what the director said. They carved out a niche and they sort of created that workforce that previously did not exist. So by creating this film and by creating an animation style that's done entirely with paintings, they've done something that previously has not been done before, and therefore leaves a great deal of room for expansion. And I think that is probably the most notable thing to come out of this.
I will say I did like the idea they had for in the next film that they were potentially going to do with that style.
So I'll let you talk about this film.
But the thing is, I kind of want to keep that secret so when it actually turns up, people actually kind of like it. But,
yeah.
And also nothing to really confirm, so saying anything would
Of course, yeah.
But the thing about Loving Vincent, the thing I will say about Loving Vincent for me was also the fact it's very. It maybe my big worry was it was going to be very pretentious and not very accessible, and it's neither of those things. I think it's a very accessible film. I think it's a very adult film though. I could really see this getting nomination for Best Animated Feature. I think it would deserve a nomination alongside Your Name and Silent Voice.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because while it basically laments over the fact that Vincent Van Gogh was sort of, it recognises just how iconic he was to art as a whole and his contributions, but it also, laments the fact that he wasn't around for longer, and but without that sort of, without the circumstances that took him away at the time that he was taken away, he probably wouldn't have the same recognition that he does today. But anyway,
I think. The one thing I will say is no one pronounces his name right. It's Vincent Van Gogh in the film, but I only heard it pronounced that way once.
But I mean, in the same way, a lot of the actors have English accents, despite the fact that
it's all taking place in France. Except Chris O'Dowd, who has a very thick Irish accent.
Again, that's quite interesting. His Chris O'Dowd plays Douglas Booth's father, and Douglas Booth speaks with a very Cockney accent, and Chris O'Dowd has like a fierce Irish accent.
So
interesting parallel. I didn't know the two were closely related in that way.
No, it's so that is really weird. Yeah, it's really weird when you think about it.
Yeah, and Van Gogh is the only one to have a sort of not in English accent. And even the guy from Game of Thrones, who's typically is very very northern, actually puts on a southern accent for it.
That feels rather weird because I think a lot of people like that like to go for they like for a lot of high art films, they like the rich northern accent. Like you see a lot of Shakespeare productions now that have people with quite thick northern accents because you can deliver the lines quite in an interesting way, and especially I'm
just trying to remember because he was in that episode of Black Mirror as well. Do you know who I'm on about as well? And the woman who played the housekeeper was in Peaky Blinders.
Oh yeah, she was in Peaky Blinders.
Do you remember her name?
Oh.
I'm going to look them up real quick, so you just carry on talking alone.
If it's I was like the fact the film's an hour and a half long. I don't think it should have been 2 hours.
I don't think it could have been 2 hours.
No, it's I mean, it's also got a very good cover of the song Vincent at the end in the end credits, which I really enjoyed.
The one thing I was going to comment on a little bit earlier, and it's the thing that drives the plot, and without it basically wouldn't exist, is that all of the characters that aren't the protagonists sort of they have like this undying need to say everything they know about Vincent Van Gogh.
Yeah, we kind of mentioned this a bit.
But it's like without the characters needing to explain themselves and needing to elaborate in depth on every single point, the story and the narrative wouldn't exist because no one, you wouldn't find out anything about Vincent Van Gogh's life. And it's not a criticism because you as the viewer, you want to know more about it and you want to hear what people have to say and you want to know the mystery and the intrigue and more about Vincent himself. And it does so through the perspectives of people who have come into contact with him in the past.
I'm so glad we haven't got a late night film tonight because I'm so tired. I had to wake up at 6:30 this morning to get us Star Wars tickets.
So, Helen McCrory, Jerome Flynn, that's it. So he's
Jerome
the guy
Flynn.
from Game of Thrones.
I
think it's Helen McCrory from
Peaky Blinders. It's
Eleanor Tomlinson as well.
I mean,
Aidan Turner.
Everyone's really, really damn good in this film. It's a very well studied cast. They're all doing their jobs brilliantly. I mean, the animation is just gorgeous.
And one thing to note as well, I don't think it ever becomes tiresome. The animation, because you're always kind of in in splendour of like everything that's taking place on screen before you. You know how the scene, none of the scenes transitioned really. Very traditionally, because all of the paintings
the editors and the cinematographers definitely deserve some credit for this film.
So what? Some credit. They deserve a hell of a lot of credit.
I honestly would. I really think this should be up for Oscars in both of those categories.
Absolutely, 100%. But so whenever they're transitioning from characters speaking to the main character to recalling events from the past, all of the flashbacks and all of the already taken place story is recalled in black and white, but they transition so fluidly from like between looking at a character's face as he explains something to the protagonist to recalling something from the past. That all of the oil paint and because it's oil paint.
I'm amazed how well it transitions. I was expecting the movements to be rather jerky and all over the place, but it's done so well.
It's stunning. It's 12 frames per second, and they said it would normally take about 2 days to do an entire.
To 2 days to do about a second.
Yeah. Although it took 2 weeks, so for some scenes involving like the Starry Night and things, I think it took like 2 weeks for one.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah, but final thoughts, Ren.
Phenomenal. Like this without question is one that you should go and see in the cinema.
You're definitely go see it in the cinema.
100%.
I'm with you on that one. Go see it in the cinema.
It's momentous. Like
I think it's one you have to see it on that massive screen to get the full.
It's
effect.
unlike anything you have seen before. There is no comparison because it's pioneered.
I think this could be your film of the year.
It's looking that way. I absolutely loved it. It's pioneered its own sort. It's hewn out its own. It'll
probably be in my top 10 of the year. Yeah. I'm not sure it'll be my number 1 of the year because I still think that will be A Silent Voice.
But I do think that in everything that this film has done, maybe not as like maybe not to criticise it in the way of its own writing or its acting, in what this film has achieved in making its own art form, which it is an art form because it's replicating art from an artist and bringing and animating it frame by frame in over 65,000 individual shots. It's achieved something that nothing else has.
Is he knocking next door again?
I just heard a bit of a knock actually.
Seriously, there's someone who's staying next door to us. He's been banging on the walls
at approximately 8 o'clock in the morning with a hammer and also drilling things, which is not very fun.
I can't decide whether that's worse or better. Whether that was worse or better than the people shouting at about 2 o'clock in the evening that night I was doing the editing for.
I might just start kicking the wall if they start hammering again.
I just imagine you smashing through like
the OJ Man,
or the OJ Man, or Macho Man Randy Savage saying "Slip into a Slim Jim."
But yeah, so those were our thoughts on Loving Vincent, and what are we seeing tomorrow, Cal?
We are seeing. What's it again? Oh yeah, it's. I'd have to go through and get my ticket, but
I think I might have it on my calendar. Give me 2 seconds. But yeah, have you got anything else more to add?
Not really much more to it.
And what are you doing, calendar? What are you doing? Oh, why in 2015? Yeah. So
your phone's amazing.
There we go. Okay. Tomorrow we're seeing.
The party. Yes.
The party.
Which is at Embankment. That's very early.
Who's in that? Do we know?
I know Kristen Scott Thomas and Timothy Spall are in it.
Oh, Timothy Spall. Oh yes. No. I've seen. Yeah, I've seen.
And I think we can go a bit more in detail with that one because like Loving Vincent, this one's out relatively soon after its film festival screen. Speaking of which, there's no other film festival screens for Loving Vincent, but Loving Vincent will be out
in 2 days' time.
In 2 days' time. But since this is probably going on quite late tonight, knowing how the uploading speed goes in this apartment, I would say you're more likely to see it tomorrow morning. So it's going to be in cinemas from tomorrow. I imagine it won't be playing in that many cinemas, so you really need to track this one down.
Yeah.
But we really, really like it. We really, really recommend it.
Like without question. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And like, share, subscribe,
and follow us on Twitter. I put our Twitter handles in the thing at the bottom description box. That's what we call them. Goodbye.
Goodbye.